Hello, friends. Welcome back to a. Oh, yes, you have it. A pop in the life. Welcome back to our Wednesday episode of the pod. Hopefully, you've been already prepped with all your day, your morning routine. If you're listening in the evening, hopefully you've had an amazing day. This is gonna air at 7:30 a.m. Central European time, so here's what you got. So, in today's podcast, as always, we find lots of inspiration through listening to stories of the people who were there before, and that was also one of the topics in the pod, which was steal their homework. And I want to share with you something that relates the possibility of understanding that you're probably looking at talent wrong. And it goes through a saying that is quite common and popular in Silicon Valley that I'm going to quote, and then I'm going to say where we heard it. This is a moped. The saying goes, missionaries build enduring companies, mercenaries don't. Now, there is a lot of, potentially a lot of talk through which you can analyze this specific sentence. First things first, the first person that you need to vet is yourself. Are you in for the long run? Are you in just to make a quick buck? Spoiler, you are not going to make a quick buck. Are you in because you want to prove somebody something? Are you in for whatever reason? But you need to understand, if you're not in that 100%, you shall find out why. And if you're there 100%, well, you're going to be then a missionary, just like real missionaries in in the religious words that they try and or not even religious words, like they're going to preach and they're going to find a way, and they're going to convince people, they're going to create teams, they're going to raise money, they're going to sell, however you want to call it. Otherwise, you're just a mercenary because you think you found, again, a quick way to save face, quick way to make a buck, quick way to actually do anything for not the actual reason of building that thing, which should be the only real motivation. Why? Second of all, you shall consider this with your partners and the people that you're going to find on the way, meaning that it's not easy to find missionaries on the way, but usually they're going to find you, and you're going to for sure realize when they're missionaries and when it's everything else that is a mercenary. Now, it's not a bad word to say, it's just that people have different incentives, different ways of looking at things, different things, different ways of understanding life. And unfortunately, all of those that are not mission driven are actually mercenaries in the company space. Why? Because you're going to find yourself in a situation in which there is probably a moment which it's going to be something is going to be hard, in which you're going to need them to step up, in which you're going to need something from them. And if they're not 100% in the project, if they're not missionaries to the project itself more than to you, it's going to be hard to have them on the same page. But spoiler alert, that moment at some point is going to happen. Therefore, it's good if you try and understand and get to see really who is who. That is probably the biggest thing that is useful to understand, is who is who. Who is not a missionary is a mercenary, and who is potentially a missionary, you should try and really understand why and give them time and space to prove it to you. It's impossible to know in the first place. Now, how do you deal with the fact that potentially you are not that missionary. You're probably a mercenary in that specific project. Well, at least be honest with yourself, be real with yourself, try and understand and try and talk to yourself about the fact that probably you're not there for the long run. You're not there to build anything significant. You're just there to potentially make a quick buck. Just tell yourself the real deal. It's potentially not, it's not impossible to see, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you need to assess the thing for real. Otherwise, you're just gonna mismatch yourself, and it's quite hard. It's quite hard to really get in deep into things. Of course, with social projects, and for anyone who has been involved in anything bigger, charities, well, like, it's quite easier to explain, it's quite easier to understand, even sometimes in public servancy, because if you talk to a person that was in government, for example, and that has worked in the government space, and that potentially has worked a lot in the public space, they're not as paid, they don't have such big incentives, but they're moved because of some greater good. Now, I don't mean to say this should be where you take these people from, but like, look at how and how do these people look like, understand what moves them, understand who these people are, and you're gonna find yourself looking at someone that you are gonna want to have in your company, at least for that specific area, that specific character trait. Now, there are lots of other things that you shall look in the startup world, and this is not, the moment in which we talk about it. But to be honest, if you at least know that these people need to be missionaries, you're gonna then scrap out everything else, and you're gonna connect to the missionary everything else. For example, performance culture that's very much tied to performance. Well, you're going to realize that if people are not missionaries or mercenaries, they might be just as motivated because of the money, but it's not as obvious, because when the money runs out, when there is a problem, when potentially there is a conflict inside, no matter the money, they're not going to be able to handle it as much and as good. And so, unfortunately, this is probably one of the hardest things that you're going to face in business life, simply because, as everything is a talent problem. Therefore, at the moment in which you're going to accept that this is a talent problem, that this is an issue that you're going to face through talent, through solving with talent, you're going to also find the tools to test these people, to understand if these people are good enough, to understand which side they stand from. Now, one thing that we must tell you, as we've been there, we've done that, we've seen both of those, and we know, it's when you feel it's off, then it is off. If you feel that something is off, if you feel that some of the things point to the fact that that specific person is a mercenary, probably they are. Now, don't kid yourself, you're not going to realize in the first 5 minutes, but sometimes it does happen. Usually on the bad side than the good side, honestly. But you're going to find yourself in that situation, and you're going to remember us, you're going to remember this podcast, and you're going to think, oh my God, now I know. Now I see. Maybe. I don't know, potentially you will. But this is a saying in Silicon Valley, and as with anything in the startup world, if it is a saying in Silicon Valley, it means it means something. Now, you could like it, not like it, but this is what we got. And so take this, use it to your own advantage, use it to make good, use it to make wise decisions, and use it, to be honest, to create something good, just like a missionary would do. Because if not, then you're gonna be kidding with yourself. So start with yourself, start vetting yourself, and then go and see. Sending you lots of kisses, hugs, and a bit of barks. Bye.